on ancestors. Of immigrant origin, with a relatively young and inexperienced widowed mother, and a young brother to look after, living in Belfast in the late decades of the 19th and early decades of the 20th century, it couldn't have been easy for my great-grandfather. He worked hard and prospered, and his daughters, my Belfast grandmother, and my London great-aunt, seemed well set up for life. After writing a couple of poems about this man, he disappeared. But as one door closed, another opened. Following the tales of family names like any genealogical root searcher, I discovered that the woman this Huguenot, William Bailey Charters, had married was called Mary Jane Quartz. Both had met in North Belfast, in a district of mixed religious and ethnic origins, the kind of district which seemingly did not exist in the north of Ireland, never mind Belfast. I dare say they buried their distinct histories in order to get on, a not uncommon strategy for immigrants or children of immigrants. Mary's story, my great-grandmother's story, needed its own form of commemoration. She became a subversive presence, a sociable, physical figure who handed on both the sociability and uncertainty of her own unconventional heritage, waddling down Royal Avenue in the middle of the road, stopping traffic, carrying a money belt under the ample skirts, yearning, one suspects, for a life beyond the seemingly leaden class-conscious proprieties of her husband and his time. When I wrote the first poem to her, Middle Names, another one came hot on its heels, called Quartz. The poem tells a familiar immigrant story, apocryphal in part, about the journey of a generation of Europeans towards the end of the 19th century, duped by unscrupulous shipping companies or sea captains. Quartz moves from the austerity and masculinity of the patriarchal order which had defined for almost 2 centuries the public face of Belfast, and moves to her Belfast and the vulnerable hope in the midst of real personal challenge of similarly courageous women making a life for themselves and their families wherever and however they could. Without laying too much freight on the slight shoulders of the poem, Quartz meant for me an imaginative movement away from history with a capital H to a personal voice, from power play to a yearning to live, imagining a different kind of cultural reality by actually inhabiting none, albeit with the dash of the apocryphal. Maybe from these hidden, uncanonical sources, a deeper sense of a common culture will surface in 21st century Northern Ireland, indeed throughout the country as a whole, and that these differences of background will be in the future celebrated rather than locked away as idiosyncratic bit parts in the big picture. Quartz, for Katrina Goldstone. So there is something I want to know, great-grandmother, reclining on whichever foreign shore or ambrosial meadow, taking a second look at the old place, the valiant village, the provincial district, the back-breaking hill climb to the apartment, the quiet evening square in this country town or that frontier post, down by the coastal resort of some famous lake, say, with Roman baths, or a minority language. I want to know who your grand dame was, or paterfamilias, disembarking in a draughty shed, thinking Liverpool or Belfast was really New York, blinking in the greyish light of a noisy dawn, looking out for a rooming house, a decent hotel, putting one foot in front of the other, taking the first right and walking, past the shipping offices and custom houses, the rattling trams and carters and mill girls, the steep factories and squat churches, till the hills converge upon this 3-storied terrace, with the curtains drawn, the bell pull shining, and you pull the bell pull, and in whatever English you'd learned, you stepped in.